Okay, good evening. So today's class will be on the rise of prophecy in Israel. The class is going to be in series. We are going to have parts 1, 2, 3, 4 because the topic is quite wide. That's why I've not really had time to teach it all this while because I've been busy. So I'm going to just start today and continue. Alright, so rise of prophecy in Israel. Under this topic, they want you to be able to give an overview of prophecy in Israel, and then you should be able to describe Amos' message to the Israelites, Hosea's message, and Prophet Isaiah's message to the Israelites, and relate it to nation building. Alright, so let me start with the rise of prophecy in Israel. Okay. Alright, so prophecy is derived from the Greek verb proemi, meaning to say beforehand, connoting that the prophet is one who speaks before an event comes to materialization. So this is saying that prophecy is actually gotten from the Greek verb proemi, and it means to say something beforehand. So which means that the prophet is one who speaks before an event comes to materialization. This means a prophet says something before the thing happens. You get? So it's just like assuming I'm a prophet and I tell you that tomorrow you're going to have a certain amount in your account. That's me saying something that will happen before it comes to materialization. So prophecy is more than foretelling or prediction of what is to come. Yes, prophecy is actually more than you foretelling or predicting what is going to happen. We know that prophets, they always tell you this is what will happen to you, or they predict things, yeah. But prophecy is actually more than that. From what we saw in the Bible, it's more than that. The main concern of the prophet was not the prediction of events far distant from their own day. What we are saying is that from what we saw from the scripture, the prophet there did more of foretelling or predicting what will happen. They didn't even predict events that are too far. Most of the events they predicted were things that were going to happen immediately, and then they announced the future, yet it was the immediate future. So it wasn't something that was really too far. You get something that will happen immediately. Let me give an example of what I'm saying. You know that Amos talked about how God is going to deal with the Israelites, and it happened. Hosea also talked about how God is going to deal with them, and it also happened. Isaiah also talked about the Messiah, and that was after that time Jesus came. You get? So prophets were not primarily predictors of future events. Instead, they were the spokesmen for God to their own contemporaries. So aside from them foretelling or predicting what is to come, prophets did more of being a spokesman for God to their own contemporaries. So aside from these people foretelling what will happen, what God is planning to do to the Israelites, they also served as a mouthpiece for God, saying, God can't come down to speak to them, but God revealed to them what he wants to tell the people, and they also tell the people. All right, please, if you have any question, if there's any explanation that is not clear enough, kindly comment below. Okay, and if you are not following or you're not subscribing, rather you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe to the channel and on your notification button so you will know when I drop the remaining videos. Alright, so let's move to development of prophecy in Israel. So here I'll be giving you an overview of how prophecy started in Israel. So from the onset of Israelite history, prophet often held the reins of leadership. So what we are saying is that when prophecy started in Israel, prophet gives prophecy, right? Prophet gives prophecy. Now this prophet actually held the post of leadership in Israel then. They were the leaders. Like Moses is a good example of this by qualifying to lead the people by virtue of his prophetic office. Moses was a prophet, God's spokesman, and what did he do? He led the people. He was the one that led them out of Egypt to the almost get to the promised land. Then we have Deborah. Deborah later emerged as a prophetic leader during the period of the judges. So Deborah was also another prophet. I remember she led the battle against Syria this time around, And then we have Samuel. Samuel was favored with a personal message from God. Yes, Samuel was also a prophet. He was privileged to receive God's punishment to the house of Eli. He was the great reformer of the prophetic order and encouraged schools of the prophets. So what we are saying is that, Samuel actually started this thing of being trained. You get Eli trained Samuel, and then he was like the one that encouraged schools of the prophet. So he was the great reformer of the prophetic order. It actually changed the narrative. Okay, so Samuel was said not to just be a prophet, he was also a priest and a judge. Okay, so apart from Moses, Samuel is reputed as the best example of a prophet prior to the monarchical era in Israel. So talking about monarchical era, they're talking about Samuel is seen as an example of a prophet prior to the reign of kings in Israel. So I said that prophet then were in the position of leadership. They were leading. But the moment monarchical era started, which is having kings ruling over Israelite, Samuel is like the last prophet to hold on to that post before monarchical era in Israel. So we have the moment Saul was anointed king over Israel, the role of prophet became one of advisor to the king. So like I said, apart from Moses, Samuel is reputed as the best example of a prophet prior to the monarchical era in Israel. So this monarchical era has to do with the era when they started having kings over them. So the moment they started having kings over them, prophets stopped being leaders. So at this time, prophets were more of advisors to the king. So the moment Saul was anointed king over Israel, the role of prophet became one of advisor to the king. Evidences of this are prevalent throughout the ancient Near East. There are no books dedicated to the prophecies of the pre-classical prophets. So this set of prophets were referred to as pre-classical prophets. Okay, so now let's look at those prophets. We have the record of Samuel's service to Saul. So Samuel is one of the pre-classical prophets. We have Nathan's prominence in the administration of David. Remember Nathan that God sent to David to tell him about how David has sinned against God by taking the wife of Uriah, and then by killing Uriah and all that. That's Nathan. Then we have, we have Elijah. Elijah equally served as the mouthpiece of God during the time of Ahab. Though it is doubtful if he was an employed counselor of King Ahab. You know that Elijah was always in Ahab's business. You get? So, was always in Ahab's business. And we also have, we have the like of Elisha. Alright, but I can't mention all here. We have quite a number of prophets. We have Shemaiah, we have Elijah. I can't actually talk about them because the video will not be too long. So the intended audience of the pre-classical prophets was generally the king. All these prophets were dealing more with the kings. You get? The first set of prophets were more of leaders. The second set, which were called the pre-classical prophet, were more of advisors to the kings. And now moving on to this last set that were called the classical prophets. 8th century marked the beginning of classical prophecy during the reign of Jeroboam II in the northern kingdom of Israel. Alright, so this classical prophecy actually started during the reign of Jeroboam II. I believe you should remember Jeroboam II. Remember, after the kingdom of Israel was divided into the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom was called Judah and the northern kingdom Israel. So we have Rehoboam ruling over the southern kingdom and Jeroboam ruling over the northern kingdom. So Jeroboam II is like the Jeroboam that became king after Jeroboam I. Alright, so the foremost examples in the north, as the northern kingdom, were Amos and Hosea, while the southern kingdom had Micah and Isaiah. Alright, so in our next class, I'm going to be talking about Amos, then Hosea, and Isaiah. So most of the oracles of the classical prophet were directed to the general public. So this particular prophet, the classical prophet, their messages were directed to the general public. Though many of them continue to have specific messages for the king, but it was more of to all the people. Alright. So from what we did today, let me do like a summary. So I gave you an overview of what prophecy looked like in Israel, how we started with the prophets having as leaders, then moving to them being counselors to the king, and then moving to them being God's spokesman to the people of Israel. So in the next class, we'll look at Amos' message to the Israelites and neighboring nations. Please don't miss it. Make sure your notification button is on so you can know when I drop, and also kindly subscribe. And please, if you find if this is useful to you, please comment below. If there's any topic you also want me to explain, please comment below, and please share with your friends. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.